What's up guys, English Dan, another video for you. So Poco, or Xiaomi and Poco, one of their sub-brands, released the Poco F1 a couple of years ago, and it was an amazing device at the time for an amazing price. Well, this is the Poco F2 Pro. It's a little bit more expensive, but is it still an amazing device? I'll let you know in a minute. Welcome back guys. So yeah, coming in at $499, it's considerably more than the Poco F1, but it's also considerably less than most flagships, but it also offers that premium build quality of the flagships, both when it comes to screen and the actual build quality of the device. It's got Gorilla Glass 5 on the front for the screen, but also on the back is why do I struggle with that word so much? Gorilla Glass 5. Here you go. So it's got high quality glass on both sides, uses an aluminum frame, and it has a matte finish on the back, which I like a lot. Looks really premium, feels really premium. So a little bit about the F2 Pro. It's a all screen device. By that there's no notch, no punch hole or anything like that. It uses a pop-up camera like the OnePlus 7 Pro did and a couple of other phones have done in the past, and this does it really well. The screen, talking about that, is a 6.67 inch AMOLED display, so you get all the really nice deep blacks and saturated colors and things like that. Looks very, very nice when you're looking at it. Comes in at a resolution of full HD, so 1080p, which isn't hateful. I mean, a lot of the time, you know, 18 months ago, people used to frown if it wasn't Quad HD. Well, nowadays, people are seeing that 1080p still looks fine on a cell phone, and it looks great on this screen as well, so it's really no issue, even at 6.67 inches. Whether it's my old eyes or what, the difference between the two, I don't really see much of it. And that's also much better than the screen that came on the Poco F1, because that was an IPS LCD display back then. The other good thing about this display is it gets really bright. It can go up to 800 nits in sunlight mode. You're not going to have an issue seeing this, whether it's daytime, nighttime, sun time, or whatever. You're going to be able to see this display. The display is really, really good. Screen also supports HDR10, so things that support that like Netflix and things like that, you're going to get some really nice pictures popping out of the screen when it comes to watching HDR10 content. Also has 180 Hz touch rate sampling. So what that means is when you press, it's going to be a lot more, I'm going to say, it's fluid, quicker. It's going to be a lot more precise when you're pressing something. It's going to feel like it opens a lot quicker or reacts a lot faster than what it would do on a display with a slower refresh rate. For audio on this thing, it has a single down-firing speaker. Now, it's really loud. It does get plenty loud, but it doesn't have any depth or anything like that. Also, there's no stereo where the speaker up on the top to give you that stereo sound. So yeah, loud speaker, just not very good speaker in terms of sound quality. Your voices and everything come through clear, but you know, you've got no low end, which is usual for just a single down firing speaker, but at least it's loud enough so when your phone rings you can hear it from over there. Speaking of audio, it also has a 3.5mm headphone jack. What? Yeah, it comes with a 3.5mm headphone jack on top as well. For those of you people who like to use your wired earbuds or headphones, I do myself. I still have wired audio devices and I love to use them. So the fact that this has got it there, it's a big bonus for me, seeing as manufacturers now are just taking them away for no reason. Also has an IR blaster. That's a blast from the past in itself. But yeah, IR blaster as well. So they're packing in the features. So the Poco Phone F2 Pro runs Android 10, the latest and greatest for now, but it's also running MIUI 11, and it is going to have an upgrade anytime now, I believe, over this next couple of weeks to MIUI 12 that's going to bring some camera improvements to it, and I'll speak to you about that in a little while. But yeah, it's the usual MIUI, you know, colourful, bright, plenty of customization and options, how you want to display certain applications in the app drawer and things like that. I personally prefer a more relaxed launcher, let's say, so I just throw Launcher on mine and it gives it that pixel look, and I think it looks great with that as well. But some people like MIUI, kind of like that iPhone-y Samsung look. Me personally, I'd throw a different launcher on there. But it is a lot better than MIUI used to be a few years ago. They've really improved it, and it's still very fast and snappy. It's not bogged down whatsoever due to the skin. Also within MIUI 12, 11, see, I'm jumping ahead of myself. But also within MIUI 11 has a game turbo feature. Now, if you game on your phones a lot, this is going to be quite helpful for you. I don't. I game on home consoles and PCs. I'm not into mobile gaming as such. But with Game Turbo, what this allows you to do is create profiles per game so you can have different settings. And it's really quite in depth. It's pretty good for what it is, but it's not something I would ever use. But a lot of people do use mobile for gaming, and you know, this would be right up your street. So as I mentioned before, premium device, premium build, also has premium internals. This thing runs the latest Snapdragon 865, which is fast. It also has 5G. I've not actually had 5G on my device when I've been out and about. I've been using T-Mobile and I've not seen it switch to 5G, so I don't know whether it's got all the bands necessary for over here. Something you would have to check out if 5G is a must for you. But I get LTE no problem on my T-Mobile device, and that's everywhere. It doesn't move from LTE. Comes with 6 GB of RAM, 128 GB of storage, so that's plenty. With the 865, this thing flies along, but if you do want that little bit more, it does have an 8 GB of RAM version with 256 GB of storage if you want to pay that little bit extra. At the time of when I got mine, that wasn't actually available. Not sure whether it is now yet, but there is definitely going to be an 8 GB 256 version. So another thing that's premium on this is the battery. This thing has got battery for days. It really does. It has a 4,700 milliamp hour battery. And with the full HD display and an OLED display, it really helps this device push out some really great battery life. I can get to the end of the day and have plenty of juice left, 25, 30%. I can even get up to noon the next day before I have to throw it on charge. So it's really good when it comes to battery life. Talking of on charge, there's no wireless charging. Have to cut some corners somewhere, but it does have fast charging, and in the box comes a 33 watt wireless charger. That's pretty hefty. So hefty that for about 30 minutes worth of charge, you're going to get 55-60% battery out of it from zero. That's really good. So on the back of the device, you get a quad camera setup. $499, a quad camera setup. This consists of a 64 megapixel f1.9 main shooter, then has a 13 megapixel ultra wide sensor, a 5 megapixel macro camera, and a depth sensor. Sadly, there's no telephoto camera here, which is a bit of a shame. I'd have took that over the macro probably, but still, more on that in a minute. So yeah, the 64 megapixel camera, you can take 64 megapixel shots with it, but they don't actually look any better than what they do when they use the pixel binning. You get a 16 megapixel shot from the main camera when this happens, and the detail is really good. It's quite sharp, the colors are really pleasing, and it does quite a good job. The main problem I have with it is inconsistency. For every 10 photos I'm taking, 2 or 3 of them can come out looking really soft and smooth. I don't understand why. Hopefully this is something they can fix in the upgrade, because I know there is some camera tuning coming up in MIUI 12 that's due any time, like I said before. So yeah, you do get some really good pictures out of this, but like I say, consistency is not quite there with this build. HDR is also pretty good on this. It does quite a good job of retaining details and shadows and things like that. So yeah, it's not a bad main shooter whatsoever, especially at the price point of $499. And the ultra wide actually works just as well as the main camera. I mean, you're going to get slightly less detail, obviously, because it's a lower megapixel sensor, but it still has really good colors, some really good details and good sharpness. It's one of the better ultra wide cameras that I've actually used, and that's on any device, not just a sub $500 device. So I was really impressed with the ultra wide. There's also a 5 megapixel macro camera that has 2x zoom built into it. And it's really good. It's the best macro camera I've probably used. The problem with it is there's no image stabilization. So if you're using this, you're probably going to end up using a gimbal or a tripod if it's something you want to go with. But when you do get that close in detail, it's really sharp, really detailed, and looks fantastic. Low light is where this starts to fall apart a little bit. Low light pictures are very soft, quite a lot of noise, things like that. They're not too good on the main shooter. Same on the ultra wide, if not worse. But with night mode, you can flick over to that and it eradicates all those issues. Gives you some really good details again. Dynamic range is very good. very sharp, good colors. So yeah, looks great. Ultra wide doesn't work in night mode, so it's only on the main shooter. Ultra wide in light mode, in low light, is pants. Just don't use it. Seriously, don't use it. On the front you get a 20 megapixel selfie camera, which is pretty good actually. It captures really good details, does pretty good with the portrait shots, good cutout, things like that. Catches really natural colors for once as well. A lot of these cameras nowadays try to overdo everything with popping colors out and things like that. One thing it does have an issue with though, and I'm hoping again this is something that might be fixed in MIUI 12, even though I turn the skin smoothing off, it still applies some skin smoothing, and that seems to be a lot of import phones doing that, I've found. So maybe it's just the way it's liked over there. They like that skin smoothing effect, but yeah, not here. But it still takes decent pictures with the front-facing selfie camera. And as it's got the Snapdragon 865, you can record in 8K at 30 frames a second, which is impressive at $499. Unfortunately, I can't tell you whether it's any good because I don't have an 8K display and I don't know anyone with an 8K display, and I just don't see the point in 8K video right now when 4K still isn't fully adopted everywhere. So 8K, hey, it can do it guys, but not very many people are going to get to see what it looks at. It can do 4K at 30 frames per second and has image stabilization when it comes in at 4K 30, and that looks really good, really sharp, good details, pretty smooth with the stabilization. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with that. You can also do the same with the ultra wide as well. The ultra wide on this camera is really good. I'm very impressed with the ultra wide. Xiaomi have nailed it when it comes to the ultra wide sensor. You can also do video in the macro mode as well, but like I said, again, you're going to have to use a tripod or something for that because it's just going to shake everywhere. But it does look good when you have got a stable tripod or gimbal or something like that to use it with. It is very good. Like I said, EIS is present in the main camera and the ultra wide camera, but it's not present whatsoever in the macro. So that could be an issue when you're going for macro shots like mentioned. So overall, yeah, the cameras are pretty good. At $499, I think they really impressed for $499, but they're not gonna beat your flagships like your Pixels, your iPhones, some of your top-end Samsungs, things like that. So bear that in mind, that when you're buying this and it's coming with a camera that's good for the price point, but not as good as the top-end flagships. Overall, the F2 is really a really good choice of device. If you're running on a GSM network like T-Mobile, AT&T, this will work on those, no problem. Like I say, it says you get 5G coverage. I'm presuming it depends on where you are in the country and what band you fall under, but I didn't get 5G. But you're getting the latest Snapdragon 865 processor. You're getting 6 gigs of RAM, 8 if you want it, 128 storage or 256 storage, Gorilla Glass 5 on both the back and front. Your quad camera setup with night mode, 64 megapixel camera, good selfie camera at 20 megapixels, a 3.5mm headphone jack and an IR blaster. What else could you ask for at $499? Even though it is more expensive than the previous F1, I still think this is a really good value for money. They have cut some corners, but I believe they are the right corners. The corners that they've cut with this device is no IP rating, so no waterproofing. Kind of hard with the pop-up camera. I know it's been done. OnePlus shown that they made their 7 Pro waterproof without an IP rating with a pop-up camera, but yeah, just be aware there's no official IP rating, and I don't know whether there's gaskets and things inside, so yeah, be careful with that. The screen, for as nice as it is, and it's really nice, they opted for a 60Hz screen instead of a 90 or a 120. Obviously they're trying to meet a certain price point, so I can understand that, but it would have been nice to have a 90Hz refresh rate screen. But with the touch sampling, everything feels snappy when you're pressing on it, so kind of makes up for it in a way. No expandable storage. Doesn't bother me because I use a lot of cloud, but I know a lot of people like to have expandable storage, so that could be a downside for some of you. No wireless charging. I know a lot of people moan about wireless charging, but you get a 33 watt power brick in the box that's going to bring your phone from flat to 60-ish, 55, 60-ish in 30 minutes. So I think that nullifies the need for wireless charging, really. And last, my main negative, or not main negative, And my last negative is no telephoto lens. I would have liked to have had a telephoto lens with it having a quad camera setup, but hey, they went with the macro and it still works pretty good. So yeah, it's a really good device at $499. If you can get hold of one of these, I really recommend that you do. I mean, there's nothing really out here in the United States right now that competes at $499. You can say the iPhone SE, but that's only because of iOS. The actual phone itself, when it comes to the display, build quality and things like that, aren't nowhere near on a par with this Poco F2 Pro. So yeah, highly recommend it. Go out and get it. And that's English Dan signing out. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.